You know what's freaking wild? People will run into a burning building for a stranger. They will donate a kidney to someone they've never even met, but ask them to say no thanks to their own sister, and suddenly they turn into a full body puddle on the floor. Like, genuinely, explain that to me. You stand up to actual danger, but you will not stand up for yourself in a group chat. And I used to think that meant that was insecurity or something else wrong. Like maybe they were weak or spineless or whatever. But no, that's not weakness at all. It is a bone-deep survival strategy that worked so well, it forgot to stop running. Here's what I mean. You know that thing where you disagree with someone and your brain doesn't go, that's interesting, I see it differently. Your brain goes straight into alarm phase red. Sirens, light, full evacuation protocol. Like you just found out the building is on fire, except the building is a Tuesday morning text message and the fire is just your co-workers saying, hey, can we talk? Maybe it's a text, but your nervous system doesn't know that. Your nervous system heard, can we talk? And translated it immediately into, prepare to lose everything you love. And so you do the thing, your thing. You start rehearsing. Maybe I said it wrong the other day. I should have softened it. Maybe if I explain it a different way, they will get what I actually meant. You didn't even hear what I wanted to talk about, and yet you're already building your full legal defense strategy. And here what's freaking devastating about this, truly. You started that conversation as the main character of your own life. You had a want, a boundary, a limit. Something happened to you and you were going to talk about it. And somewhere in the middle, without you even noticing the handoff, you became their emotional assistant instead. What the hell? You're not talking about what hurt you anymore now. You're managing what they are feeling about the fact that you brought something up. Well, what are we doing? You walked into that conversation as the person with the problem, and you walked out as the person solving their problem, which now is their inconvenient problem of having to deal with you having feelings and you having a problem with something in the first place. That's the trick. Nobody hands you this job. You just quietly clocked in. And I think a lot of people call this being considerate. I am the mature one, being the bigger person. Calm down. There's a difference between I care how you feel and I am personally responsible for making sure you never feel a single unpleasant thing because I exist near you. And only one of those is empathy. The other one is a part-time job you never applied for and never got paid for, to be honest, and somehow still show up for every single day. It's a pretty shitty job. And you keep doing it because somewhere along the way you learned a rule. Nobody sat you down and explained it, you just absorbed it. The way you absorb the smell of a room you've been in for too long. So, this is that rule. If I make myself small enough, quiet enough, agreeable enough, nothing bad will happen. Good rule, right? And when you're a kid and the people around you get unpredictable when they're upset, that rule isn't paranoid. That rule is a pretty smart, genius, airtight survival tool. That's a kid doing math in real time. If I don't bring this up, dinner stays calm. And the kid getting the math right every single time. Really smart thinking. The problem is, you're not 7 anymore. You're 31 and you're still doing threat assessment on your best friend's punctuation. She used a period instead of an exclamation point. Baby, it is a period. Nothing is declaring war. She's just typing normal, like a person who isn't emotionally decoding Morse for a living. But you can't help it, because for you, A flat tone once meant something real was coming. So now you scan everyone's face, everyone's silence, everyone's, we'll circle back to that later. That's a threat. That's a Damocles sword, I think it's called in English. You have become fluent, completely, actually frightfully fluent in reading everyone else's emotional weather. What about your own weather? Static. You don't even check the forecast anymore. Your weather, let's call it plan B. And here's where it gets deeply twisted. Because self-abandonment doesn't usually look like some huge dramatic moment where you fall on a sword for somebody. It's not a movie. Nobody's going to make a documentary about the 17 times you said it's fine, when it was absolutely not fine. It's tiny. It's so tiny that you don't even clock it as a decision. You don't even consciously remember it. Someone asks you if you're free Saturday, you're not. You say, yeah, fine. Someone tells you a joke that actually stung a little. You laugh anyway because laughing is faster than explaining why it didn't land. Someone asks what you think. You already know what you think. You feel it. You say, I don't know, whatever works. I'm fine with that. Each one of those alone is nothing. A pebble. You'd never even remember it happened. But you don't do it once. You do it for years. 10 times a day, 15 times a day. And pebbles, when you stack enough of them, stop being pebbles. They become the floor you're standing on. And one day you look down and go, wait, when did I build this? Why did it feel like a self-made cage? Because you did. That's the punchline nobody wants. Sometimes the person keeping you small isn't even in the room, isn't even an abuser or an avoidant or whoever. It's you pre-editing yourself before anyone even asked you. You take what you actually think, you send off every sharp edge, you add a bunch of little disclaimers so nobody could possibly misread you as difficult. You wrap the whole thing in a bow labeled reasonable person energy. And then you hand it over. And it's not really what you meant anymore. It's the version of you, calculated, scripted, would be easiest for someone else to swallow. And then, and this is the part that gets me every time, you get hurt that people don't understand you. Well, be so that serious. They cannot understand you because you never showed them you. You showed them a focus group, a loud summary of you, and now you're upset the focus group didn't fall in love with the real deal, whom they never even met. Now, before anyone in the comments loses their mind, I'm not telling you to become the person who says whatever crosses their brain at full volume and calls it, well, I'm just being real. I'm just being brutally honest. That's not honesty, that's just having no filter and being proud of it. There's a massive difference between truthful and unfiltered. Truthful sometimes sounds like patience. Sometimes it sounds like, I was wrong, I'm sorry. Sometimes truthful is soft. But sometimes, and this is exactly the part you keep avoiding, truthful sounds like, no, I don't agree. And then you stop talking. You don't need a TED Talk justifying your right to have an opinion. You don't need them to nod first. You don't need to hear, that's totally fair, before you are allowed to say, I don't want that. And here's where most people get completely turned around. And it's honestly kind of a genius mistake because it feels so reasonable while you're doing it. You start believing communication only works if the other person agreed with you. No, communication is you accurately representing what's going on inside you. That's it. That's the whole job, all of it. What they do with that information afterwards, really not your department. You can explain something beautifully and they can still get it twisted. You can be gentle and they can still get pissed off. You can be completely fair and they can still walk away thinking you are the villain of the story. And they are the obvious victim. None of that automatically means you did something wrong. Let that sink in, because I've watched my own moral compass get built entirely out of other people's face expression. And baby, that compass, it's just going to send you into the ocean. You need something else to check yourself against. Not, are they upset? Ask yourself, did I actually cross my own line here? Those are two completely different questions and only one of them is yours to answer. What are my values? What are my morals? And am I adhering to my morals? Sometimes being upset isn't proof you hurt them. Sometimes being disappointed isn't proof you were unfair. Someone disagreeing with you isn't proof your view is wrong. And by the way, of course some people are going to be unhappy when you set a boundary. A boundary is you literally changing how much access someone gets to you. Why would everyone throw a parade for that? If you've spent years being available for anything, anytime, no, I'm there, you can count on me, no worries, and you suddenly say, no, actually no, some people are going to act like you personally revoked their oxygen supply. That doesn't mean the boundary is wrong. It means the arrangement changed and that they're having to adjust to a version of you that doesn't automatically fold anymore. They are allowed to not love it. They are not entitled to make you take it back. Now here's the other trap. And this is one for the people who just discovered the word boundary and are currently using it like a get out of accountability free card. Nope, a boundary is not I'm not accountable anymore card. Standing up for yourself doesn't mean you're suddenly always correct. If you show me something I haven't thought about, I listen. If I accidentally hurt you, I own it. No theatrics, no 15 minutes defense speech, just like, yeah, that wasn't okay, I'm sorry. But be truthfully sorry and promise to change your behavior. But if I said something true and you just don't like that it's true, I'm not amputating a piece of my personality to make that easier for you to sit with. And listen, I know why the over-explaining happens, because I've watched people do it like it's an Olympic sport. You say, I can make it Saturday, and then immediately, unprompted, you launch into a 9-paragraph appendix. It's not that I don't want to see you, it's just, well, actually, I've been really tired lately, and I know maybe you are counting on me, and I hope you don't think that. Stop that. You already answered. The more you explain, the weaker your answer gets. Why are you now filling your additional paperwork? The reason is because deep down you're not explaining so they will understand. You're explaining so they will grant you permission to have said no in the first place. And that permission, that was never theirs to give you. That's something you already have. And here's the thing about honesty you keep dodging. You cannot control how someone receives it. You can control whether you are cruel. You can control whether you are respectful to someone else. You cannot control how it lands. And if their comfort becomes the entry requirement for you being honest, you will simply never be honest. You'll be performing something that sounds like honesty from a safe distance. So watered down so that nobody can even tell what you actually meant, including you. And then you'll sit there resentful going, why doesn't anyone ever get me? Baby, you never told them. You hinted, you softened, you gave 17 little breadcrumbs and hoped they'd follow the trail to the thing you actually needed. And when they didn't, you got hurt at people for failing a test the people didn't even know they were even taking. That's not on them. People can't respond to a need you refuse to say out loud. They can't smell it. And this is where it gets ugly in relationships specifically, because this pattern doesn't just hurt you. It quietly rots the connection from the inside. You say yes when you mean no. So you start resenting people for believing your own yes. You said I'm fine so convincingly that when you're not fine, nobody notices. And then you're furious. They didn't notice a thing you told them wasn't happening in the first place. What were they supposed to do? You handed them your map. You're mad they followed your map. So here's the actual work. And I promise it's less complicated than your brain wants it to be, even though your body is going to act like you ask it to walk into traffic during rush hour. Practice the sentence, I disagree. Those are just 3 words. People act like those 3 words require a stunt harness. They don't. Not, I disagree, but obviously you're totally valid and I probably explained it wrong and I don't want you to think, yeah. No, just, I disagree. Full stop. You can still be warm. I see it differently. That doesn't work for me. I need something else. That's the whole sentence, not because. The world keeps spinning. They might get upset. Let them have their reaction. Their reaction is information, not a verdict on your character. Because here's the actual scary part, and I think this is the real engine under all of this. A lot of people abandon themselves because they're trying to prevent someone else from abandoning them first. If I'm easy enough, they'll stay. If I never cause friction, they'll stay. If I understand them perfectly, they'll stay. But you're morphing yourself into a different person. Also, you're here watching this video now. They did not stay. And that hurts. I get that. And also, at some point, you are going to have to ask yourself something genuinely uncomfortable. If someone only sticks around when you're not fully yourself, what exactly are they sticking around for? Because that's not connection. That's just someone getting attached to a heavily edited trailer while the actual movie sits in a drawer collecting dust. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be loved because I made myself unbelievably convenient, never saying no. Oh yes, I'll show up, I'll fix that for you. I want something to know the actual footage. Me, the opinions, the edges, your nose, the person who gets things wrong and says no, the person whose nose always itches when she has both hands full, the person who can say, actually, I was wrong about that, without it costing them their entire identity. Someone else's discomfort is not automatically evidence that you did something wrong. Say that again in your head, I'll wait. Because if you spend your entire life measuring whether you're a good person by how comfortable everyone around you feels, that sentence is going to feel almost illegally to say out loud. It is not illegal, it's just unfamiliar. That's why it feels dangerous. And the first few times you try it, you will feel like a monster for something completely mundane. You'll say, I can do that, and then spend 4 hours convinced you just committed a felony and that relationship is over. You didn't commit a felony, you just use your voice. You disagree with someone and feel the urge to send a follow-up novel explaining yourself. Don't let the silence sit there. It's not going to kill either of you. You'll set a boundary and someone will be disappointed. Let them be disappointed. It shows you who they are. Do they care about you or do they care about how convenient you are? You can hold their disappointment and your decision in the same two hands. That's not cruelty. Well, your nose might itch a bit. This is what an actual adult relationship looks like when you strip the performance out of it. Because here's the difference between what you've been calling maturity and what maturity actually is. What you've been calling maturity is, I am never making anyone uncomfortable again. Real maturity is, I can tolerate someone else's discomfort without immediately abandoning myself to fix it. And that second one is a freaking muscle. It's going to feel weak the first few times you use it, like any muscle you didn't know you have. And then one day, it's just how you move through the world. It's training. So no, you don't need to get colder. You don't need to become someone who tells people to F off for sports. You don't need to win every conversation or dominate every room to say, see, here I am. You just need to stop disappearing from your own freaking life to keep other people comfortable in it. Be kind. Be honest too. Listen to people. Keep your own brain while you're doing it. Consider their side. Do not erase your side in the process. Because the tragedy was never that you cared too much about other people. The tragedy is you spent years trying to stop someone else from leaving, and so you left first, quietly, piece by piece. Every single time you swallowed something you needed to say out loud. You are allowed to have edges. You are allowed to be misunderstood by someone and survive it. You are in the room too. Start acting like you.